So when you guys look at these profiles, right, I'll just go on ES continuous for a moment. So you guys can see where we are, where we bounced, right? And what is market doing overall in the larger picture, right? A lot of times people are so focused on, I would say, just, day to day that you almost forget to kind of zoom out and see what is happening on a larger scale. And you guys see here, right? We had a consolidation a little bit right there inside this massive range that we had. And then eventually we kind of broke out of that, which was what, 5,200 or so. And ever since then, I mean, you guys can see that we've been running, right? Is it running on a lot of volume? It's not bad, right? Even the sell-offs until this March 20th were not that, aggressive. This is the only time they got aggressive. They picked up more steam here, but they did not really find this discount buying besides this candle here and maybe this one here. I would say these are your big candles of the rally, right? We peaked below the value, we peaked below the value here for this year, and then ever since we've been kind of going. We came back, retested it, and the result is pretty clear, right? So now when you look at the profiles, right, you guys will see that we are outside of the value, right? And that's not necessarily bearish. It just means what? What does value have to do now?
Just searching for a new value.
Yeah, exactly. So the value has to catch up with the price. We have to basically hold this, right? On a larger, I'm talking about massive time frame change. We should not be cracking below this 57.35. If we do, that would indicate a lot more about this auction here, that it's not being accepted, and then you most likely could go 51.42, which is in terms of percentages, it would be a significant drop, right? So you're talking about 15% retrace. Not saying it's not doable, but this would be a critical level for them to hold. But as of right now, market auction is looking pretty healthy, right, year over year. And then when you guys look at this on the monthly time frame, so we're just gonna switch this up, go to daily or 4 hours, whatever you guys prefer. And here's your monthly profile here. This is December, and we can go on a Z contract here. If I can type. So here's the Z contract, right? I mean, compared to other months that we've seen, what are you guys noticing?
Right at a really large node. Looks like maybe struggling.
Is there anyone else?
That's how they just keep buying it all up.
Low
Anyone
volume.
else? What about the range for, I'm talking about, here's your October. Let's see, do I have the wrong one? Nope. What about the range?
Yeah, it's a lot smaller.
I mean, December, guys, is tiny. This is pretty tiny range. I mean, you're talking about just a couple of hundred, not even, maybe 70 points, 68 points compared to October, right? I think we have what, 200? So what does that tell you?
Not as confident.
Okay, that's very good. What else? What about like participation?
Not a lot.
Retail.
Retail, that's what I was looking for. That would mean the retail's involved, that maybe we don't see any big boys participating yet. Is that necessarily bullish or bearish? Well, we'll get to that in a second on the daily, because when we find a proper high in the market, what should it look like? When I say proper high means proper auction ended, what should it look like on TPOs, right?
Single print.
We want to see access. Why do we want to see access? We're going to question you guys to make sure everybody understands, and then hopefully you guys, it makes sense towards the end.
Regression and make sure that they're serious.
Regression means that they're serious, but also remember, once you find those, why do we auction higher?
Test it.
What's the purpose of auctioning higher? In search of what?
Fair
To
price.
find the sellers.
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 We're looking for sellers. So if if we're going and auctioning and it's a poor high, what does that mean? Did we find the sellers?
Not yet.
Not yet. You keep going, and then you find the sellers, and then the sellers give you a bunch of single prints, right? Aggressive selling, and then liquidation starts. And we've seen that happen recently, right? A couple of times in the brackets they did it. We haven't seen that yet. And we'll get to it on the daily, but we haven't seen it just yet. Even on the weekly, we haven't seen it. I'm just marking these levels now on the monthly because they will matter. And then here's our, this is our December developing value area low. I'm just gonna mark November here. You guys could go more, the purpose of me marking every level, but I typically would mark, this area here is gonna be huge eventually. If we come here at any point, it's gonna be a good buy. I do think personally, based on what I've seen before, that this market needs to retrace. And why do you think I say that?
And the volumes towards the bottom.
How many people do you think in the media? Remember we talked about the 6,000 number maybe a couple of months back. I said if the Trump takes office, news are gonna be market at 6,000. This is a life opportunity to buy. Do you guys recall that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that time has come. Right, then you have immigration, you have the president, switch. I call it a contract switch for the next 4 years. Now you can anticipate some people are buying here. Maybe they didn't like to buy right here, right? They prefer to buy here. What they need to do is, they need to grab as much less liquidity as possible and shake them out. Once they shake them out, that's when, I will look for a relong opportunity, right? Whether it's ETF for kids or myself or wife. But this is not an opportunity to be bullish. Is the market bullish? Yeah, but am I gonna throw my money at this to go long now? Just like people are gonna start buying Bitcoin and all the crypto soon, but they're gonna learn the hard way that you don't do it on euphoria buying. You don't buy when others are buying. And many times you guys hear me, oh, you're buying Pfizer, for instance. I'm just giving you an idea. Why are you buying Pfizer here? It's been beat down so much. Well, where would you like me to buy it? Like, I'm just looking at the chart. Where would you like me to buy it? We are pretty much at the low of 2004, and they're having record earnings right now. What if it goes short at 15? Well, that's okay. I'm going to buy it at 15 too. Right? This is the long-term hold for me. It's an investment, not a trade. Right? When I buy something for long-term hold, it's really hard for me to get me out, right? Especially when I'm buying companies like say like Pfizer, I'm buying, I bought some Nike. Is it better to buy here or if I bought it here? Right? And that's the same aspect that we are looking in the market right now. People are just maybe eager to get in, right? Maybe they missed something and they just want to participate. And usually you will pay the price when you participate, when you're late. So I wouldn't be shocked if they execute, one of those, hey, let's grab the liquidity, let's clear it all out. Let's, shake the bulls out, the late ones, let them come back, and then, it would be a very nice long here. So enough on the monthlies. I'll just switch this to a weekly here quickly. And I usually do that on 65 minutes, as you guys know. And some of the levels here, it seems like a lot of volume was what? This is my weekly, and this is, this is just 8 days in. So it seems like we're, perfectly aligned, and I'm not surprised there. But now if we lose this level, let's say 95, what would you guys expect?
December Val.
It would be most likely this December vol. Would I be surprised if they even cracked through that? Just because it's a early one, right? It's 1 week and we're at all-time highs. Is there a chance that they don't bounce at this high volume node? Yeah, certainly, but just keep in mind what type of profile do we have on the weekly?
Double distribution.
Yeah, so it's a clear double distribution, right? That's not to say that maybe, because once we get into the daily profiles, I already looked at the market a little bit over the weekend. But if we do this and we do some stuff maybe here, or maybe some stuff here, if we fix some stuff and reclaim these levels, you do not want to be short. Because there's some unfinished business on both sides of the house, right? Top and bottom. Now we got to figure out which one they're going to fix first. If I was them, I would fix the poor high first, trap more people, and then go to the short side. That would most likely play out in their favor, right? In terms of this level here, I would just mark this zone here because this is your POC. You know, you want to be above this zone right now. They want to hold this from the weekly perspective. This is the zone they want to be above, right? They do not want to, you know, when you look at the structure, right, they do have right here, they do have a nice little box right here. So 60, 90 to 95 is not a zone to be heavy situated because you're at the what? Why is this POC somewhat important? Why is POC important, especially weekly? What does it tell you?
It's the fair price.
Fair value.
Yeah, it's fair price. It's the fairest price in the market. So think about the market. Let's talk about just simple stuff. Take it out of the stock market. You go to a market and you want to buy oranges, and the oranges are $3, and the price is not going up or down, just staying at $3. Are you going to have less buyers or more buyers, less sellers, or is it just going to be an ongoing machine that just sells oranges at $3? Or the buyers and sellers, yeah, the buyers and sellers are happy. It's equilibrium, right? And if you guys, you know, have taken some classes in econ, right? So you have your supply and demand, right? When you meet here, there's only a few factors that can change this. And what's that?
More or less supply, more or less demand.
That's correct. I mean, either you get a shift in supply or you get a shift in demand. Our shift in supply on the stock market is what? I'm bringing you back to the first reason why I said excess. Wouldn't the shift in
Aggressive.
supply be the excess? If I come in here and I have a massive order sitting and there's a lot of supply and I just hit it and I'm like, oh crap, never mind. That would be, you know, your supply. If you're looking for supply at the top, somebody starts selling. If they want to buy this up, right, they got to be aggressive. They got to be hitting aggressive market buys that eventually, you know, will meet with the limit sellers on the ask side. So our ask is here, our bid is here. We're looking for inflated ask and that they are not able to go through it on the footprints. We want to see them kind of struggle when they hit these large orders, right? And I guarantee you, your eyes will pop when you see this order. So if your eyes are not like, what the fuck was that on a footprint chart, it's not time yet. I promise you're gonna be like me, I've never seen that before. So be patient. Don't try to time the top because the market is gonna be, you know, it's brutal, right? And you know, a lot of sayings about timing the tops and bottoms, but I also have a timing from my a quote from my mentor. People that are greedy in the bull markets usually become poor. Do you guys understand that?
Yes. Like buying at the top.
Don't buy at the top, and if you've had something for so long, it's not bad to scale some money. You know, put some money in your bank. Clean the table. So just to, you know, I'm not suggesting anything. Just keep in mind when you're trading and also buying some long-term stuff at the all-time high. So in terms of weekly, we're in balance, of course. We're framing up, guys. There's no even point of me telling you this. We've had 57 all-time highs in 2024. So there's no point in saying we're framing up. Weekly is framing up, monthly is framing up, yearly is framing up. And now we're going to come to the daily and kind of look at, you know, see what's going on, right? We'll start with the SVP just to see, you know, what's going on there. And I've actually changed some colors, but these look horrific. Oh my God. This looks pretty bad. We're going to go with blue. So now you see, even on volume profile, right, on the daily profile here, I'm gonna search for ETH for a moment. Hide the candles, we don't need them. What do you guys see on, let's say, 2-3 days? Ever since, what is it, Tuesday? What happened?
Value areas started to overlap a bit more.
The values area started to overlap. So we had the gap here, if you guys remember, and then we came here, and then, you know, you're overlapping to both sides, right? Typically, right, when you're auctioning higher, and I'm just going to give you a scenario. If this is our value, right, I'm just going to have it bigger. If this is our value, when you're in an uptrend, you want to see a good stack, right? You want to see something like this. You don't want to see a lot of slowdowns. If you do see a slowdown like this, right, and you're in an uptrend, right, and they slow down something like this, and the volume is still relatively in the balance, relatively low, is that bullish or bearish? If I give you this scenario here, you're overlapping, but the volume is very low. Would you lean bullish or bearish?
Bearish.
Why bearish?
There's not as much activity
Like
at
buyer
these
If
prices.
it was bearish, shouldn't the volume spike if you found the sellers?
would be that buyers
No,
are
but
exhausted.
Could be that there's buyer exhaustion, but if there's buyer exhaustion, that doesn't mean the volume picked up. The volume is low, therefore did you find the sellers?
It's neutral, maybe.
No.
It's a bullish uptrend with the break, with the basically, you know, if you've ever ran a marathon, I didn't. I'm sure you get tired at some point and maybe you need a break and you step aside. You're like, man, let me just take some water, and then you continue running. Right? If you have a massive overlap like this, and that's not to say the markets go like this and then just go like this, they do slow down, but you want to pay attention what happens in the bracketed market, right? When you're in an uptrend, if you're seeing a lot of overlap, this is just telling you the auction is slowing down. If this is looking like this, and then I give you a profile on the third day that it looks like this, we peaked above this bracket, and it's a massive B and the volume spike, what's your analysis now? This is supposed to be a
Might be
volume.
reversing.
This should be a good sign that it's bearish, right? Because you met the axis above, you went above that 2-day balance for whatever, and then the volume increased and you had liquidated, right? Now the question is, do we get responsive buyers on the bottom, or are these sellers just going to continue liquidating and selling their position, right? So not necessarily is it extremely bearish, but that means the auction is what? The auction is slowing down. The trend is slowing down. So when you guys look at it, you know, when you zoom out a little bit. So here, let's just go. Can everybody see this? I mean, I can see it on my screen. I just don't know how is it coming to you guys. I can see, right? You know, you have this gap. I think this was the Trump gap, if I remember. Maybe not. Maybe I think it is. And then you had consolidation here. You came back. Another, you know, I would say 3-day consolidation with the outside range value. And then, of course, you popped, but you see the values as you're going up, they're really stacking. That means the auction is aging, right? The auction is not necessarily as strong right now as maybe it was, you know, when we're kind of going from, let's see, I have to go further back. I would have to go on the weeklies, but usually you want to see something like this, right? You see this, you take a little break and then you continue. But this whole run up here and the break of previous time was a lot of overlap. So the auction is really stalling. There's not a lot of new business at the moment since here to here. So it could be time to watch for a lot of traps, peak above and fails at the top and look for access, right? Does that make sense to everyone? It's not necessarily bearish because we haven't even started framing down yet. That Makes sense. We don't have any framing down. Framing down means we haven't put a lower low. Does anyone remember how many times I mentioned that, here we had a PDL? We just go here. Please go on mute, somebody. Who that is, but
It's Mike.
so here we had the PDL, right? And I think they did this overnight, right? They came in, they visited that 77 level, I believe. I mentioned this the night before that most likely we're going to go here. Of course, they ran it up, broke the high. But what they didn't do to be bearish is what? This was our PDL, and look at this. We kind of tapped it, and then we closed above the PDL. They swept the PDL, they grabbed the liquidity, and they went higher. At one point, I think maybe 2 months back, they did it like maybe 21 times in a row, where they would sweep the PDL and just go higher. Sweep the PDL, and I think we talked about it in one of the watch lists. And now you want to pay attention to what did they do here? We need to go below 76 in order to initiate the framing down on a daily, and that's really when the trend will reverse. That on a daily, hey, we're saying enough, we completed an auction, now let's move forward, right? But when you look at the TPOs, right, and that's going to give you some information here now. So let's kind of go look at it. And also, I don't know if Drew's on or if his wife's recording, but I know he likes this. This is one of his favorite patterns. You guys know what this is?
The diamond top.
Yeah, we have a diamond top on it right here, so I like them, right? I like when I see a diamond top. Usually they pay decent, right? And this would be on 30 minutes, so it looks pretty good, right? Just keep that in mind, right? And it's at the level that it needs to break, for this diamond top to play out. You guys see that this Wednesday's value area low and this double stack of values right here. We want to see those, you want to see this level crack right here. If you want this diamond top to play out, you want to see it pop below this, and then ultimately we would target. And that's our 90 level, if you guys remember. So below this 90, we're targeting 64 and a half. It would be really good to actually see some red weeks or red days ahead. I'm anticipating we're going to have Monday or Tuesday. I think we have CPI or PPI. I think it's CPI Wednesday. I wouldn't be shocked if there's some volatility that comes in. Let me see. Okay, Wednesday we have CPI. So I mean, just imagine how would market react if we do have a hot CPI with everything that's been going on. It will really change the momentum of the stock market really, really, really quickly. Okay. All right. So what do you guys see on a week on a daily time frame here? On my settings on a daily, just so you guys see it. So I'm on 1 minute, one tick, and I'm just looking at the profiles. What do you guys
Was
see?
that a crowded poor high? What is in lowercase b?
Okay, we do have a crowded low. I don't think we have a crowded high, right? It's not very crowded, right? We came once. This looks like a crowded poor low. So what do you guys see? What could happen? Like, what would be the scenario you guys should be aware about?
Is that 90 level?
The 90 level is going to be important, right? But you want to be aware of this poor high. Why? Why is this poor high so important? Because remember, poor highs and poor lows, there's a term that we use, right? That means carry forward. What does that mean to you in terms of trading?
They didn't complete the
They
auction,
act
so they
as
have to go back and test it. Find a
And they act as magnets.
Remember what I said earlier that, and we did not find what?
The sellers.
We didn't find the sellers yet, because if you find the sellers, most likely you're going to have a proper auction completion. Right here, that means, hey man, we didn't get a final sell. We did not complete this yet. Most likely, we're gonna come back and revisit. So watch tomorrow. What if they come in? I don't know where we are. I'm just gonna assume I don't know where they are. I just didn't pay attention where we are right now. If we come in, we lose this, regain this level. What are you aiming for?
Complete the poor high.
Most likely, we're gonna fix this, guys. Let's say we see tomorrow, and this is your PDH as well. You go above it, and then you come in. What could you aim for?
POC.
90.
Low.
Well, most likely they can try to fix the poor low. Then they trap some people here. I don't know which one's gonna play out, right? Is it number one or number two? I would prefer if number two played out first, we could make so much money tomorrow that we could call it end of the year. Because you would know what they're trying to do. They fix the poor high or they break this, you could play both ways. Short it and flip. What do you do here? You flip to the long side, and that would be nice, right? Ideally, since we're in an uptrend, which one has more probability? What would you feel more comfortable with?
The long.
This is one, this is two.
2.
You wanna
One.
feel more comfortable with two, not one. He didn't say one. You wanna feel more comfortable with two. Right. Shorting here is it doable? Yeah, but probabilities wise, you lose this. Let's say you're here, you lose it at the open, and you regain it. This is gonna be a rocket. It's just gonna fly, right? So I would definitely watch that, right? I would watch for both of these scenarios, and I can draw it probably a little bit better so you guys are not confused. But does that make sense to all? Why I'm speaking about poor highs and poor lows? And when you have poor high and poor low on both ends, what does it tell you?
Indecision.
It's a big indecision, and what else? KJ. If you had other time frame sellers participating, would you have poor highs on both sides?
No, that's retail creating that.
That is correct. All right, and I'm not saying that this is the end of it. I'm just saying that maybe on Friday they were not really participating there. And when you add, what could give you more information about the participation on Friday? What if we add this? I'm just giving you a visual of the initial balance on Friday. If this is our initial balance on Friday, and you went below the IB and then you close inside of it, what is it telling you? You have a what?
They're done auctioning lower.
There's a high chance that we're gonna clean this up tonight. That means it's a failed IB auction, right? There's a high chance we're gonna clean this up. Usually within a day or 2-3 days, this gets cleaned up. But considering this is a massive uptrend, I wouldn't be shocked, right, that it happens overnight. Now let's see where they are. Okay, they're coming to a really interesting level here for overnight long. Okay, they might give us a better level here, so I'll wait patiently. Okay, so is everybody clear on ES and what it means, why poor highs, poor lows, how we're gonna play it?
I got a question about poor highs and poor lows.
Mhm.
So with poor highs and poor lows, when it's created, it typically auctions away and fixes it later, right?
That's correct, always.
And then once it fixes it, what happens? Is there like a trick to that too?
No, there's no trick. It just means it got repaired, right? It means that it got fixed. So think about, so let me give you a scenario, right? You're going to an auction to buy a car, right? And let's say that, you're auctioning.
Oh, because someone won, right?
Well, when it's completed auction, you won the car. You got it. You got the Lambo you wanted or Porsche Classic, whatever your heart desires. You bought it. But when it's poor high, what does that tell you? Who got it?
Nobody.
Got it, but it's just that nobody's willing to bid higher. So what they're gonna do, right? They don't do that in car auctions, but what they would do in stock market is like, okay, well, let me go back, shake these guys out, and see if I find some other people that like this car higher. So then they're like, okay, well, let's see. So this guy's like, yeah, this guy didn't want it. I raise my hand. I'll buy that Porsche, and you go higher until you really find that seller, right? And then you find that one buyer that's super excited to have that Porsche at the top, and you're like, okay, good job, you won. That's the difference between them, right? One gets tired and they search lower because these buyers were like, oh man, the value is not there for us. They stop. Then they auction lower, and then you get to buy the dip crew, and they're like, oh, I'll buy here. It's valuable. They buy it, and then the other guy's like, man, I don't want to miss it. Let me buy here, and then so on, so on. And then what happens when you have candles, like this? Let's see. Let me give you. Man, now all this drawing is gonna stay there. To delete it, I'm gonna have to delete it tomorrow then. Golly. I would deleted something. I don't need it. Does that make sense? So now think about like why that happens, right? So this was our PDL, right? I'm sorry, PDH here for Thursday. What happens on Friday is that you get, there's typically people that buy at market. Like they'll buy this, believe it or not, millions of people will be like market buy here. And they buy it, and then look what happens, right? Whatever you want to call this, some sort of triangle. And then they sell it off, right? So these people that market bought, right, if they didn't take the profits, that 11, I think we targeted 13, 16 zone for a while on ES, if I remember, based on fibs. Maybe some people had levels and they started selling. These market momentum buyers, got screwed. They probably tried to buy the retest here, and then boom, it just went lower. So here, market buy got them higher than, of course, here, but they really did not complete it. So now those people that market bought, what do you think happened to their positions?
They got screwed.
They sold, right? Their stop loss is probably triggered. Once they trigger their stop losses, these people were like, oh crap, man, let me buy back here. Let me buy back here. They kept buying, right? And it didn't go nowhere. Then they had a nice bounce. They came back, and now they're flirting with this, but maybe they're not aware that this is unfinished business, and that we were going to go there. So that's what we were going to use to our advantage, is that they sweep and fix the poor lows, regain that, then we go and fix the poor highs. And on these days, I do like playing SPX when I see poor lows and poor highs, or vice versa. I'm just like poor highs and poor lows, because those SPX 0 DTs will move. And I don't mind that at all. Okay. Any other questions? Does that help?
Yep. Thank you.
This is a big level zone, big zone here. Ideally, if they give us somewhere around here, 93-ish, that'd be a decent long. All right. Well, I'll be live, guys. I'll be trading live.
Jordy, quick question. Do you have two poor lows on ES?
I have a poor low. What do you mean two poor lows?
I have one at 35. Yeah, no, two different days. I have one at 35.
There's one. There's
48.
one below. There was one below somewhere. I don't know.
One was Tuesday, and the other one was oh, you know what? That was Sunday. So.
There's one on the weekly also.
Yeah, there's one here. This was Tuesday. Yeah, one here. Remember, this one came into that 45-ish level single prints, if you remember.
Yeah.
It came very close, but when you think about it, why didn't they drop it all the way to these single prints? It's probably the eagerness to, people were closing their shorts and started buying, and they never encroached the single prints. So that was a good sign for aggression. I'm sure it's on the weekly, yeah. Let's check weekly real quick, TPOs. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's definitely a poor low on the weeklies here. With a double distribution. So you can create a scenario in your head on this, right? Double distribution, you crack below, and imagine something like this. And then fix what? About 60 points. And I've seen, you guys have seen them execute this. Don't be shocked if they do it again. Fix this, fix that. Same day, 2 days, whatever. CPI is on too, so. Wednesday will be probably not advisable to trade at all. And I would say this week overall is going to be slow volume. Most people are going to whale.
What do you mean to whale?
Rich
A
people go
cry.
Oh.
Well.
Okay.
yeah, they're already there, but. All right, guys. Well, thank you. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. I'll probably be on around 9:15. So if you guys can join a little bit early, we'll talk market and see kind of where we are. And if that, if we see